We're now broadcasting live at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park in London. Welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome new subscribers. Remember to click that bell icon so you don't miss future live streams or videos like these, so you get notified whenever I go live.
Unto the Father, but only through Jesus. That is why Jesus said, Islam is a backward religion. It's full of demons and nonsense and corrupt people. How many Crusades did you Islam is originally a backward 7th century Buddhism. But Jesus Christ is Lord. End of. Muhammad gave you rights when he wanted to kill you, man. Muhammad gave nobody rights, he had sex with children. Muhammad killed innocent Jews. Muhammad killed innocent people. The guy was a terrorist. Muhammad is burning in hell. Muhammad never served anybody, and Muhammad is taking all you Muslims. Muhammad is taking every Muslim in his part to hell with him. He's going to burn in hell. Here's what it is. Let these can't say. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is Lord. Exactly. Jesus is God. Jesus is God. Jesus is God. Jesus is God, my friend. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is God, my friend. Allah is and Muhammad is burning hell, by the way. Allah is a pagan God. Islam is dead. It's a religion of a dead God. Islam is deficient. Islam can save no one. The God of Islam is burning in hell. The God of Islam is a pedophile. Yes, Quran 65 verse 4 says he could divorce little girls. See how deficient in mind these people are. Their God says that women have half a mind. So do the men in their religion. Half a mind. Half a mind. Seriously. How pathetic your religion. But Jesus Christ is Lord, amen. Jesus Christ is Lord. And he's the God of Allah. Yes. Allah's burning in hell, dude. Jesus is the God of Muhammad. How about that? Soldiers, stay quiet. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ is God. Yes. Yes. On the back. Muhammad is burning in hell. The guy's a false prophet. Yes, amen. I remember when they used to say like Jesus.
Yes. All the stories of Ali Baba are in the Quran.
Yes.
There is no Ali in the Quran.
All the stories of the Quran is Aladdin. The God of Quran is Aladdin. He's a fairy tale princess.
In the Quran. In the Quran. No, in the Quran. The flying carpet is in the Quran. The flying carpet of Suleiman is in the Quran.
Yes.
Flying carpet. Flying carpet
is your God.
Flying carpet.
Repent, turn to him.
Applied ash in the Quran as well. Applied ash in the Quran as well. Don't have everything. That's like Adam always or the one that was on the back of it. They've got the flying cow in his mouth. Flying cow.
That woman
already had conversations.
It's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. It's in the Quran.
You said Bukhari wrote the Quran. You said Bukhari wrote the Quran. You said
Muhammad wrote the Quran. Muhammad wrote the Quran.
He didn't write the Quran.
What was?
Muhammad couldn't even read. Muhammad could not even read. The guy was illiterate. That's who you're following. Your best example couldn't even read a picture book. Your best example couldn't even read a book.
What was under
Imagine your best example couldn't read a book.
Alibaba.
which is eaten by goat? What was that? What was that? The Quran which was eaten by goat was under Aisha's pillow. Aisha's pillow.
How they will run.
You say that Muhammad did not write the Quran? No, he didn't write the Quran. Oh, he put the Quran under Aisha's pillow.
He taught them verbally and people broke it.
Really?
Yes, he
You're saying you're God. You're saying you're God. Late Chinese Christians. He calls them fake Chinese for 100 years and nobody else has got anything. No, it's not one God. You don't have to because you
Not the command of death. The curse of death is going to come from a woman, not a man. Sorry.
Aggression and violence, we all know that, because people tend to be very obsessive and involved, and maybe that is human nature, and I'm not trying to persuade people to get out of what is human nature. But in response again to answering your question, what is pro-Taliban mean? There were people at the time in various parts of the world that condoned the activities of the Taliban, and you've got people now condoning the concept of Brexit, condoning the concept of vaccinating the whole population. You know, you have to actually, it's okay, I didn't realise it was you, I'll be very careful about what I... The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, we have a responsibility, an obligation to question everything that we are told. And I can tell you categorically, the government, all governments, are no longer on side of the people. It's changed. Unfortunately, we are now in a dog-eat-dog society. And unless we rise up all over the world, we will be subjected to being sheep. A little bit like George Orwell's prediction of 1984. It is happening now, and I never thought in my lifetime, despite all my complaints, that we'd ever see something as sinister and as despicable as we are experiencing now. We are all so vulnerable. And you know, I first felt that
Can you
we
give
were
examples,
vulnerable-
please?
Sorry?
Can you give examples?
Well, I will. I was just going to lead to an example. Here, where you're standing at Speaker's Corner, last year, we were not allowed to speak. People like me, if we got up on a ladder, we would be put in handcuffs and arrested. You could be arrested for drinking a coffee, and one man was. You could be arrested for hugging, and one man was. Now, you might feel that this is exaggerated, but if you go on YouTube, you will see these videos. You will see evidence of what I'm saying is correct. Here you had an example of the first time in its 170-year history, Speaker's Corner was hijacked by the government and by the police. And anyone who didn't cooperate was arrested.
When was this? When?
Last year.
During the pandemic?
Yes. Can you confirm it? Because there's people who don't believe it. Can you confirm that?
No, I believe you. I believe you. But
I'm telling you
Resistance
the truth.
GB was arrested and pulled down off a
People
ladder.
were many, sorry,
Yeah,
who-
Resistance GB, he was arrested.
Resistance GB was
Yeah.
arrested.
That's one example.
Yeah.
No, I believe
Of getting up the ladder and then he was pulled
that
down
was
and
only
dragged.
one example.
That's one.
And what we're talking about is
Of many.
peaceful people. Peaceful people.
During lockdown.
Yeah, peaceful people participating in their democratic right to express opinions here at Speaker's Corner. But the police obviously were biased, and anything that you might have said anti-government was particularly considered to be, opposing the police, who are obviously.
was this during
part of the
lockdown when the
establishment.
restrictions were in place?
Well, there were some restrictions in place, but that's neither here or there, because, you cannot catch anything in the open air. You cannot. It's impossible. Yeah.
With the argument of the restrictions in place imposed on people's inalienable rights to express themselves. Put your medicine with a spoonful of what? You're saying that was regulations to stop people doing that.
Yeah.
The whole point was them regulations imposed on people's inalienable rights.
Well, he's right. He's right. Who has the right to impose civil liberties? Even if you participated in the Democratic ballot box and you voted the Conservatives in, what right do they have to abuse their power? And we would have the right, if they are not, representing the people in a genuine way, in a good way, then we have the right to get rid of that government. We should have demanded another election straight away. But, I think what's going to happen...
Yeah, but to be fair, though, there
I'd
are...
like to move on slightly. Go on, Joe.
Okay, to be fair, though, we do have other modes of redress against Parliament, other than elections.
Yeah.
For example, if you get 100,000 signatures together in a petition,
Yeah, they have to debate.
they have to debate in Parliament.
Yeah.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're implying that throughout this pandemic, we lived in some kind of aggressive, almost totalitarian regime from the top down, which wasn't necessarily the case. Because throughout our democracy, there's always been modes of redress. If we don't like something, we can petition Parliament.
You're wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong. Because the BBC and LBC are very biased in their for example, you phone up and have an opposing opinion. In the olden days, that was great. It was proper debate. And LBC, for example, is meant to be a debating programme. So is Question Time on BBC, promoted as a reputable debating programme. But what you're getting, unfortunately, is nobody from the opposition allowed on those shows, except for perhaps somebody like Jeremy Corbyn's brother, Piers Corbyn, who I rather like, I respect him, but he's not the best debater in the world, which is great for propaganda purposes. You understand what I mean?
But I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack your speech. My counter argument to that would be, look, don't just rely on the BBC. Especially nowadays, there's a whole plethora of news sources we can rely on. There's a whole plethora of communication we can rely on. Okay. Look at other news sources. Like you said earlier, start thinking for ourselves.
Yeah.
Start debating with ourselves.
Exactly.
And start petitioning our members of parliament a lot more frequently. Okay? Because you're right. We have become sheep. There's a lot of voter apathy within our country.
Yeah.
We have to turn off the voter apathy. Become more politically involved.
Yeah.
But my point still stands. There are methods of redress. We just have to wake up, as you said.
Well,
I want to ask you a question, Mike, mate, just quickly, right? So, can I ask you what you would think if, say for instance, you're saying there's 100,000 people sign a petition, they're going to debate it. Say for instance, they were supposed to debate a subject in the House of Parliament, yeah, and they put their response to the debate up before they had the debate. So, I mean, on their website, it come up with a response to the debate of, when they were talking about legalising cannabis in this country a couple of years ago, they put the response to the debate up on the internet at 1 o'clock in the morning, the day that they were supposed to have the debate.
Right.
So what would that make you think? Because you're on about this system that works, and
I'm not saying it works.
Well,
I'm saying...
Well, what are you suggesting then? Are you suggesting we do something that don't work?
No, what I'm suggesting is this. Switch off that voter apathy. That's what I'm saying.
You're saying to get more politically involved in a system that doesn't work.
No, I'm saying is we need to wake up.
If we understand the system doesn't work.
Okay, I'm trying to respond to your point.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm trying to respond to your point. So what I'm saying is, wake up, become more politically involved, demonstrate more, get out there more.
No, I want to respond to what you're saying, okay? You have good intentions, okay? But there has been, over last year and the year before, a whole load of demonstrations, a lot of opposition to the government narrative, a lot of people concerned about the draconian restrictions, and you will not get the media exposing the reality, the truth about these demonstrations, which are invariably very, very peaceful, and it is the police, not the protesters, that create the violence. In other words, the police have acted illegally in almost every single demonstration, losing everybody's respect, including the Sarah Everett one, where the police seem to be mishandling especially young women. So if you are a feminist in the audience, for example, you would have every reason to be concerned about that kind of activity from the police.
We should all be concerned about it, whether we're feminists or not.
Yeah, but I just want to move on slightly, because so far in this country, as bad as it is, it's not as bad as other countries in the world.
Absolutely.
For example, Australia, where my sister's been living, they used rubber bullets and they shot people, and we heard about this happening in the last couple of days in Holland against peaceful protesters as well. The police have acted like absolute thugs, and they shouldn't be allowed to be in the police force. They shouldn't be. No, there were live bullets as well in Holland, and they justified it because they alleged that some of the protesters were throwing fireworks at the police. Now, I don't have any...
And that's a good enough reason to shoot people.
Well, there you are. That's another point. Regardless of whether it's true or not. And I doubt very much if it is true, but I would say this. You know, if you are going to remain passive and the police are continually beating you up and there's brutality, what are you supposed to do? Eventually, it's inevitable that you're going to retaliate. You're not just going to stand there, because you're protecting yourself, aren't you? So it looks to me, from everything that I've seen, the videos that I've seen so far, is that the police, with the blessing of the governments, are engineering this, and possibly the blessing of the globalists who are behind it, people that we don't know about. We can certainly point fingers to people who are financing this shit, like Bill Gates, for example, and Schwab. You know, we need to unite together. But the one positive thing, I do know that around about 30% of Germans, Swiss, and Austrians have not cooperated. I'm not going to say anything, don't worry. Have not cooperated with what has been expected of them. And these people are going out on the streets, and you cannot deal, I don't care what government you are, you cannot deal with 30% of your nation going on the streets and you know, really shouting out loud.
Yeah, but that's what I said earlier.
All the violence in the world, and I am hoping that this might be a little bit of a turning point, that they're not going to have an easy task, because if we do nothing, then every one of us will be like sheep.
Yeah, so
Speaker's Corner will not exist in a couple of years.
So you agree with my point then, to get out there and protest, which was what I said in the first place?
I do agree with you.
Yeah,
yes.
which is my point, to get out there and protest.
I'm not sure, I'm not advocating violence, I'm not sure if what we want to accomplish can be accomplished peacefully, because I think people have tried the peaceful thing, and I think that people are getting fed up, especially when the police respond to peaceful protesters with acts of real aggression and violence, especially aimed at the most vulnerable people, and I'm talking about young women, handicapped people and old people. They seem to be targeted from what I've seen in the videos.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, what I would say is learn from other movements around the world.
Yeah.
Look at the civil rights struggle in the United States, for example. Okay, yes, there was a peaceful movement under Martin Luther King, but there was a more radical movement under the Nation of Islam, the Honourable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, and so the peaceful people could have done it by themselves. It took a radical movement alongside it to really petition Congress and get the movement. So you're right, once the peaceful avenue has been walked down and it hasn't worked, you have to take a more radical approach. But that, what I was saying earlier, protest, yes, peace to begin with, then consider, but we must have organisation and unity.
The only thing we have to be a little worried about, and I think we won't disagree with this, is that if you get rid of one lot of bad people, that it's not replaced with another lot of bad people.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
And that's happened, as you know, in many of the Middle Eastern countries with conflicts. So that is the only concern, you know, because there is an argument saying that you have to be a little bit nasty, a little bit bad, in order to maintain your power. And we see that in normal life, you know. And people say that you don't get anywhere, for example, in business, by being nice. And I'm seeing it on the comedy circuit. I'm on the comedy circuit. There are a lot of unpleasant characters because on the comedy circuit who are quite prepared, in order for their own notoriety or acceptance, to put other people down.
Yeah, because once you get
putting down nice people by being horrible themselves. Yeah, of course, most people are very nice, but there is a category of these people. Yeah, because I'm not sure in my, you know, if I'm to be honest with you, what the best line of doing this operation is. Maybe it will just sort of all have its own definition.
But what you need is a plan, because it
can't be a plan. I'll tell you why. Because there are so many different personalities. You know, there's different religious ideologies, there's different political ideologies. We're all very different.
But once you get rid of one lot of people, you need to have an idea of what you're going to replace it with. It's like the January.
If it were me, I would have all vegetarians, because I'm a vegetarian, but I think immediately that would bring us in conflict with each other. You say, well, because I actually would like to see a society where we don't exploit animals for our own self-gratification. But I doubt if I'd have many people share that opinion. For example, Heiko, who speaks here, eats a lot of meat. On other issues, I actually agree with him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Once you get rid of one group of people, you have to replace it with something else. You can't replace it with nothing.
But what I'm trying to say to you is, if we all have different personalities and different priorities, the problem you have with that is you get rid of them, and then you've got a struggle for power amongst people like you and me. We both want power because we both think that we are right.
Okay, so what do you suggest then?
Well, I suggest that we try to unite somehow or other, forget our tiny, tiny differences, try to unite and try to achieve what we both feel is a big priority. So the reason why, for example, our government has succeeded in some of its draconian measures is because there hasn't been any opposition to it from
there is no opposition at the moment to the government.
I mean, this Labour Party are absolutely not rubbish.
They're not
They're rubbish.
at all.
They're rubbish.
I agree.
They're the Tories in disguise.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I think personally, if we had had Jeremy Corbyn in power, we, you know, regardless of all the criticisms, and nobody's perfect, it's very easy to pick on the minor things that you're not happy about. But, you know, he is a man who cares. You know, you can see that by his, you know, by the way that he, you know, talks to people.
I mean, I can identify with what you're saying. But once you get rid of something, it must be replaced with something else. Otherwise, you can have anarchy.
We're not disagreeing on that. And that is the biggest problem, because when people are unhappy, and we saw it with the riots, was it the Brixton and the Tottenham riots? You have obviously people who have, you know, felt deprived of equality and so on, going around shops and breaking windows, and that's very, very easy then to get the public on side of, you know, the police and the government, because you know, these are the ones who are wrecking our stability and our way of life. It's very, very easy to manipulate. But of course, if you really want to eliminate that, you have to have a more equal society, or a society that embraces people who are not happy. I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive of, you know, what you've heard before, but it's very, very apparent to me that we have a very unequal society, and the only way to achieve, you know, a society based on happiness and stability is to treat everybody respectfully, give everybody opportunities. You're obviously still going to have a horrible criminal element, but you will minimize it, and that should be the objective.
I think the only thing we can do is strive for an equal as possible society, because I don't think we're never going to have a utopia. All we can do is fight against as much inequality as we can, and strive for as much equality as we can.
Well, we should.
And create as much opportunity for people as we can.
The reason why we should do that is because we're all very vulnerable. We live, we're going to die, and we should all try to help each other. You know, there's a lot of mental illness in society. If you have mental illness, I've encountered many people with mental illness. I work in the comedy circuit, so obviously you're going to meet very unstable people, and I feel for them. I feel for these people, actually. And you know, you also have people, everybody is going to have a moment in their life where they've lost somebody they've loved, they cared about, whether it's been a death in the family or whether it's been in a relationship. You know, so we all need to give each other moral support. There would be so many benefits if we had a different philosophy in life. You see, if you see what's going on over there, I'm sure some of you have been over there, it's such a negative experience. If I was not me and I was just in the audience, just walking by, I would want to listen to me, and even if I was a young woman in the audience, I'd say, he's a good-looking guy, interested for an older guy. The reality is, all of that over there, I believe, is to do with sexual frustration, which they have brought on themselves by their oppressive philosophy. When you oppress, well, they're all men over there, there's no women, is there? When you have an oppressive philosophy, obviously you're not going to enjoy the rewards of a loving, emotional relationship. It's a relationship, I've observed it, based on power. And that relationship based on power is not about equality, is it? And I think in any relationship, I think the objective and the aim should be to have equal power. That's my opinion. I mean, you might disagree, but it's my opinion. Suddenly, you and me, we're getting on like a house on fire.
Yeah, I mean,
we're like brothers.
Exactly. Like, equality is so important. Like I said, you don't have complete equality in society, but we should certainly aim for equality of opportunity. We should always strive for that.
Yeah, exactly. Always. 100%. I just want to come back to the subject that we slightly touched on. I don't know what our future is. I can, for the first time in my life, I'm unable to predict how it's going to go. Are we going to have more and more draconian measures? Are we going to have more and more controls in our life? Is it going to be similar to China all over the world? Or is it going to go in another direction and I'm hoping it will, where the people like you and me, decline being sheep anymore. We rise up above it. Well, the problem is, if you've already gone along with the government and the pharmaceuticals, then it might be a little bit hard to actually get out of that shell and stop giving your support to them. It might be hard, actually, when I think about it, but you should, whatever you've done, you know, however much you have cooperated so far, we should all unite together and stop this shit. But I know we did touch about who's going to take, you know, control. But one thing I know, if I was in Austria right now, no way would I not be active. No way. I mean, we have a very, very dangerous situation where they're trying to make the jab mandatory. I mean, that's just, I'm not going to do anything. That is just so immoral. You know, governments are meant to preach morality, and here you have a government acting immorally. So if you have an immoral government in a so-called Western civilization based, I would have thought, loosely on some kind of democracy, we are going down a very dangerous road where your body is no longer your body. Your body belongs to the state. In my submission, it's rape. It's rape, ladies and gentlemen. How can you have any other definition of a government wanting to tell you what you should do with your own body? I'm sorry, it is total exploitation of you as an individual. So there you are. You can see what they're doing. They're trying to make decent people into criminals. People who object are suddenly criminals now. I think we have to stop it. But it might happen. It might actually happen. If they don't get the cooperation, I think they are going to have to learn to have learn that they can't get away with it. I mean, in Australia, I believe in Melbourne, there was over 200,000 people went yesterday or the day before on a demonstration against these draconian measures. They're happening all over the world. So, you know, all these governments are going to be very, very careful, because if they are not careful, they won't be able to control the people. You cannot have unhappy people. It's impossible. Any questions?
Yeah. I would like to.
I knew you were going to ask a question. Sorry. Go for it.
I would like to take you back to the beginning of your conversation. Yeah. When you spoke about just before your time when the NHS was created in 1948.
Yeah, that's right.
About how people respected each other more, supported each other more.
Yeah.
I would like to suggest that would depend on which community you came from. For example, when my father first came here, back in the early 1950s, from Nigeria, came to this country quite lawfully, legally, had his paperwork, spoke better English than I do. And this was about the same time Enoch Powell gave his Rivers of Blood speech.
Yeah, that was in the late 60s, I believe.
Okay, yeah, but at that time, this was a time when visitors to our country were not welcomed at all.
Yeah.
So the people who you say were very welcoming, maybe to your mates and people you know, but certainly to people like my father. My father went into a church, for example, and the vicar said to him at the end of the service, "Don't come back here again."
Right.
My father was quite popular with a lot of the local girls back home in my town, Cheltenham.
Yeah.
When his girlfriends took him home to meet their parents, he said, "Get that wog out of my house." So when you say, you know, people are very much welcoming and nice to people, some of us don't really identify with that kind of thing.
I have every sympathy with what you and your father experienced.
Yeah.
It's totally wrong, of course. You wouldn't expect me to say anything differently. But I would say, you come from Nigeria where there's homophobia.
There is.
And lots of other things are not right. And you have
I agree.
Unfortunately,
I agree.
you are not a united country either.
I agree.
So there are many issues
I agree.
in Nigeria.
I agree.
As there are in many other countries in the world.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't minimise the fact that things are becoming worse here. But in that area, what you speak about, I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure you would agree with it, we are becoming more and more multicultural.
Yeah.
And
Now.
you know, you look at the audience here.
Yeah. Well,
It's people from all backgrounds, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
didn't know that was ever going to happen after Brexit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I mean, now things are far more. I mean, that's why I love coming to London, right? But back then, okay, I mean, people say of the 1950s and 60s, oh, you can leave your back door open and everything was fine.
Just going to do a quick walk around. I think Bob's here. Haven't seen Danny Shine. I think he was here earlier, but I'm not too sure.
Trying to get out of the problem by a technicality. We're just going to talk over one another. We're going to talk over one another. So I just need to raise my voice. Okay. So no. Let's have a conversation. This is breaking down. This is breaking down.
Because you're accusing me of trying to get out of it. All I'm doing
I am replying to your point, which is what happens in a discussion.
running away.
So I'm replying to your point because this is what happens. So he's trying to get out of the problem through a technicality. And the way that he's trying to get out of the problem is saying that it is not sufficient on the basis of Allah's testimony, of Allah's quotation of the jinn, to say that this quotation is the kind of criteria that we can use to produce something like unto the Quran. Because the Quran lays down the challenge that you can't produce anything like unto the Quran. But when I asked him in the conversation, could I or any man or any jinn produce something as majestic or as beautiful as the words quoted by Allah of the jinn, he said no, you couldn't. Which means that he is upholding the idea that the words spoken by the jinn are incomparable to the words of Allah.
They're not. Wow. Again, this is the thing. All you want to do is repeat the same stuff you said. You're not actually dealing with the argument.
Because your argument is based upon silly technicality.
It's not silly technicality.
What's the surah? Okay, so let's do this.
You came here with
Let's do it clinically.
You came here with
What's
the
the
claim.
surah?
I've been trying to do it clinically, and all you've done is repeat the exact same thing all the time.
What's the
Also,
surah?
you've been straw-manning me.
What's the surah?
Accusing me. Hold on. You've been accusing me. All I'm doing is telling you, produce the evidence for your claim.
Okay, what's the surah?
The crux of the matter is, okay, that you're claiming that quotation is by itself a standard and a criteria to reproduce a surah like
What's a surah?
any surah.
What is a surah?
Surah is a chapter of the Quran.
Surah is a chapter of the Quran.
Okay.
Right.
So reproduce
And what is the shortest surah?
I might be mistaken. It's either Al-Kawthar. No.
No, it's not. It's all right.
It's either Al-Kawthar or Surah Al-Ikhlas.
Right. And what is the content of a surah? Well, I'm trying to be as clinical as possible because you're arguing that my criteria is wrong.
No.
I'm using the criteria of the Quran. The Quran says that you can't produce a surah like unto the Quran. The shortest surah of the Quran is 3 verses long. The quotation of the jinn goes on for 15 verses. So the jinn have already produced something like unto the shortest surah of the Quran.
Here's your problem. In one of the criteria of producing a surah like it has to be in the Arabic language. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. Who would you speak Arabic?
We don't know what language you're speaking.
So how are you telling me that Allah is quoting them verbatim?
Can you say that they don't speak Arabic?
Yes, I can.
So tell me, how did they? Oh, okay. So he says that the jinn. Right, I've got him now. Okay. This is clutching at straws. Listen. You don't know. You don't know. Hold on 1 second. You don't know what I'm going to say.
What did he say, Bob?
He said that he said now the reason why the jinn don't produce something like unto the words of Allah is because the Quran exists in Arabic, and the Quran exists in Arabic, and the jinn don't speak Arabic. But the very surah says that the jinn listen to the Quran in Arabic. So if they can understand the Quran in Arabic, they can speak Arabic.
Simply being able to understand the language doesn't mean that you can necessarily speak it. Okay? So don't give me that.
So they can't understand it. How do they understand it if they can't speak Arabic?
First of all, I never said all the jinn don't speak Arabic.
So some of them do.
Hold on, you like to jump, right? How about ask me the question? Because when you were talking about quotations, because your criteria was quotation, and when I said to you about the other people that are quoted in the Quran, you said yes, that's also the same problem.
Yes, the same
The
problem.
thing is, Pharaoh didn't speak Arabic, Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't speak Arabic, yet everything that is quoted from them is in the Arabic language in the Quran. So from this perspective as well, we know, and this is what the scholars have stated, that the quotations in of these people isn't verbatim because it's not even from the same language. So Allah is not quoting them in the same language. So likewise with the jinn, it is not necessary that the jinn have been quoted in the Arabic language, so that they were speaking Arabic when they said this. We do know that the jinn have testified that they themselves know that they cannot be. And Allah is affirming this and conveying this message to us that no matter how much jinn and mankind try, and no matter how much we collate together to do this, we will never be able to do it. So therefore, and you're still running away from actually providing evidence that the criteria that you came along with so prepared and so confident about is actually a criteria for reproducibility. So I'm still actually waiting for you to produce this criteria according to Islam.
Okay, so allow me to reply to that. 2 points. Firstly, the issue about the jinn speaking Arabic. He went from saying that jinn don't speak Arabic to some jinn do speak Arabic. We can surmise that the jinn who heard the recitation of the Quran do speak Arabic. That's the first thing. That we can surmise that they do speak Arabic. And so that when they speak, that they are speaking words that are incomparable. The issue of the language, is irrelevant, because if Allah quotes languages, if Allah quotes speech accurately, unless somehow Allah is deficient in his abilities to translate, but if Allah quotes speech even in other languages, he testifies that those other languages are capable of the same kind of majesty and beauty and eloquence as the Arabic itself. Other quotations don't escape the problem. That's my first point. The second point he raised is grasping at this idea of where are the scholars that say that the quotation is a criteria. The criteria that I am using is what the Quran said, not what the scholars say. The Quran says they couldn't produce a surah like unto the Quran. Let me finish. One surah of the Quran is 3 verses long. The surah of the jinn, where the jinn are quoted directly, are 15 verses long. Now he's already admitted that those 15 verses of the jinn speech is incomparable. That means that when the jinn speaks, their speech is incomparable, just like the shortest 3 verses of the Quran are incomparable, and that is a contradiction, because the Quran says that jinn and men could not produce a surah like unto the Quran, and Allah testifies that they already did. Anyway, brother, I don't see where this conversation is going. I'll let you finish. Have the last word, and then we'll.
That's fine. I agree with you that it's not going anywhere because what you've done is constantly repeat yourself.
Because you haven't addressed the problem.
Because you haven't actually addressed. Because when you say the Quran, it self-testifies to quotation. There is no verse.
To chop off your head, and then the police told me here in time. You know, we have to start showing them we're not here to bully.
Good, just do a quick walk around.
When Abdullah said was that I'm going to now give you the background because you're willing to learn, and I'm quite happy that you're willing to learn. So now here is the background. So I started by saying patience. So without interruption. Thank you. Thank you. Without interruption. So I'm now going to continue. So as I started by saying, if you keep on interrupting, not only shows how uncivilized you are, how unfair you are, how impatient you are. If you keep on speaking, it shows how uncivilized you are. I am telling you the background. Have I finished? Have I finished? This is a conversation. Then is it not fair that you let me finish and you learn the background first? Have a conversation. Have a 2-minute conversation. Have a 2-minute conversation. Does that sound fair? That's when I'm giving conversations on time. He's just standing on. He wants to learn about that. So just let him speak. He didn't want to learn about it. He asked a question about it. Since you don't know, I made a question. Look on the tape. He made a claim. Since you don't know, I only want to. Yeah, that's what he said. So he didn't ask a question. He made a claim. He made a claim. Yeah, but then it went further. 2 minutes. Keep on interrupting. Come on. Do you agree? Mansour, do you agree? Do you oppose or do you not oppose those people of the book, the scripture? I do not oppose. No Muslims oppose Christians. Okay. That is why now I'm trying to educate you now. The verse that you quoted, you misunderstood. Now allow me to help you understand what it means. Is that fair? That's fair. Thank you. So listen with patience then. Well, I have 2 minutes patience. So I started giving you the first ayah. And can you tell the people who are interrupting to listen alongside you with you, rather than not making you listen? Right? So tell him to listen alongside with you, because he's making you not able to listen because of this background noise. I'm saying just have a conversation. Right. Are you focusing? Have a conversation. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Focusing. Good. Right. So then the next ayah talks about then travel freely in the earth for 4 months throughout the land, but know that you cannot escape God, and God will disgrace the disbelievers. And then it says what? The next ayah, verse number 3. And a declaration from Allah and His Messenger to mankind on the greatest day. Allah is free from obligation to the mushrikun, the polytheists, and so is His Messenger. He's free too. So if you, the polytheists, you repent, it is better for you. But if you turn away, then know that you cannot escape the punishment of Allah. You cannot escape God and give glad tidings of a painful moment to those who wish. In the next ayah, next verse, number 4 says, except those. So now we realize there's an exclusion. So there was a treaty between the Muslims and the polytheists. The treaty is broken. We know why, because the same chapter talks about why the treaty is broken. Has this got anything to do with verse 29? Can I finish? Well, then you will learn, because otherwise you'll not be able to learn. Now, 10 minutes. Then, except, so the exception is this. Can you tell people who are making noise not to make noise because it doesn't help you understand it? Stop rating and have a discussion. So except those in verse 4, ayah 4, of the mushrikun, the polytheists, and with whom you had a treaty, and they have not subsequently failed you in aught. So basically, you're interrupting. Don't be rude. So now what you have here, the Quran is saying, there are treaties between several groups of the polytheists. not all the treaty with all the polytheists are broken. Why? Because there's an exclusion. Those who kept the treaty, those who did not fight the Muslims, they did not go against them. It says fulfill. So fulfill the treaty to them to the end of their term. That means you do not become in a state of war again with them.
So you have to submit.
You are interrupting again. Next time you're interrupted, I will call you the rude who needs learning.
Oh no!
So now,
That's terrible.
can you tell him not to be rude like that?
Yeah.
Because he's not helping me understand it. The moment he speaks, he takes the time for me to make it even longer. It's only fair that he listens to, that he can learn as well. That's only beneficial for one side.
Right, thinking for about 5 minutes now.
I haven't finished making a point.
For about 5 minutes.
So what did you learn?
I only asked you.
Excuse me.
I only.
Julian.
Yes.
I haven't finished making the point. The background education.
How many more hours are you going to take? How many more hours until you get to the verse 29?
If you keep on interrupting, you would not.
2 minutes.
You would not find that's going to be easy for you.
It's a narration.
It will test your patience.
It is testing my patience. You're right. It's absolutely testing my patience.
How impatient you are. You have so learn some patience, right?
Learn to
At least
converse.
learn some patience.
Learn to dialogue.
Right.
Learn to
So
have a conversation.
the Quran is saying.
Is jihad a thing of the past?
The Quran is saying.
Verse 929. Is 929 obligated?
Finished. I haven't finished.
Is verse 929 relevant to Muslims today?
So as you realize, the background I've given you is there was a treaty between the polytheists, different types of treaties. Some treaties,
at the beginning of the surah,
some treaties were open-ended.
Mention of a treaty at the beginning of that surah.
Why are you not learning? Why are you not learning? Do you know it already? Do you know it already or do you want to learn?
Are you saying?
Do you know it already or do you want to learn?
Well, I do not know everything. I do not know everything.
So I'm going to provide you that learning to help you understand.
I do not believe you're telling me the truth.
You read the word.
Listen, what I'm saying is all there in the historical records. Because you haven't bothered to find out. That is why.
Are you saying that this ayah,
I am saying.
are you saying this ayah is no longer relevant to Muslims today?
Again, what you're doing is, instead of learning the background message of this chapter, you are now bringing in your same question again and again and again. So Julian,
do not believe in Allah.
Julian, listen. So now we have the Quran, who has talking about the early generation of Muslims during the time of the Prophet. During the time of the Prophet, are you listening? Are you listening? During the time of the Prophet, in which
It seems you're not able to answer the question.
I am educating you and you are rejecting it. That is not a sign of someone who is willing to learn. I am telling you, the Quran says, look,
whether this verse,
okay,
whether this ayah
do I have a
is
treaty
still
with
relevant to Muslims
Excuse me,
today.
do I have a treaty with you?
Okay. No, you do not have a treaty with me.
Does the Quran talk about someone who Muslim has a
At
treaty
the
with?
beginning of the surah, it talks about people with whom Muhammad had a treaty.
So the Quran talks about Muslims.
It's a good question. Where's
So
the
this is so the Muslims. You're making it
about
difficult.
a treaty.
You're Muslim.
Is this one about a treaty?
You're making it difficult for
Or
you to
is
learn.
it not?
Do you know why? Because you keep
You think it's
on.
only the people with the treaty
Why
who have
don't
to pay
you?
the jizya?
Why don't you
Yeah?
patiently listen and learn?
And we have patiently listened for 15 minutes so far. 15 minutes at
The
least.
moment you keep speaking, it's going to take
You're telling us
and longer,
Nine
and your
29
education will be
is
longer.
Patiently
Right.
listen to this question.
So
Where is
your
the
education
treaty
will be longer
with
and
the
longer
people
if
of
you
the
keep on
book?
interrupting.
Where's
Now
the
you've learned
treaty
that.
with the people
You're
of the book?
learning that bitterly. That
Where's the treaty
if you interrupt,
with the people of the
if
book?
you interject,
There is no treaty.
you will be
Where are
learning
the historical
longer
documents
from
saying there's
right.
a treaty
So
with
now
the people of the book?
we have
No,
this
it
chapter
was
in
jihad,
which
it was war. Now listen,
there was
let
a
me teach
treaty.
you. Let me
In this
encourage you to
treaty,
learn something.
there were people
Jihad
who
has
broke
never
the
been
treaty,
renounced.
polytheists,
You still
right?
have jihad today.
Those who
So
broke
that's
the
point.
treaty,
You're going on 10
God is
minutes.
declaring
This is called
the treaty is anew.
This is
That's at
another
the beginning of the
sermon.
surah. That is at the beginning of the surah, yes.
I'm telling
By
you.
the time you get to ayah 29,
Wait.
it's not to do with that, is it?
Yeah.
It's to do with keeping away from people.
Julian,
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 it's
Julian,
about telling people not
why
to
are you so
approach.
insecure?
Fight them.
Right. Why are you so insecure?
I'm not so insecure.
In learning, and you keep jumping to
Muslims.
verse 29.
Historically, Muslims have taken 929 as being relevant to them.
I am explaining to you.
Yeah?
Only way I can help you understand is by giving you the background, and you keep interjecting. So far, up to this verse, I've come to verses.
I realised I'm not going to get an answer from you. Am I? I'm not going to get an answer.
Do you know why? Because you keep interjecting.
No,
and you're not allowing me to make my point.
I give you so much time.
Should I carry on?
I give you
No, you haven't.
time.
Do you know why? Because every time I open my mouth, you interject and you interrupt. If you're really sincere and willing to learn, you would let me speak. And if I'm there, I would give you the opportunity to learn too.
Summarize.
Not summarizing yet.
Summarize.
I have heard your question.
929 is relevant to Muslims today.
Listen.
Summarize, please. Don't give another 15-minute sermon.
Excuse me.
Just
I
tell
will
us
explain.
what way
I will
is 929 relevant to Muslims today.
I will explain this chapter as you should learn it in its correct understanding.
I don't want the whole sermon again, man.
I'm not giving you a sermon. You
are.
interject.
You're giving us a sermon so far.
Okay.
You've just stood
Julian,
on your box and preached.
Julian,
I brought
how many times did you interject?
929.
How many times did you interrupt when I was
You asked
explaining
the
to you?
question. You answered the question.
Was that fair?
Now you're
By interfering?
Yes, my interference.
Do a 2-minute debate, but you
So as I was explaining to you,
you will answer the question.
How can I
If you do
explain
a
an
2-minute
answer
debate,
if you interrupt
you will
and
lose.
interject?
How can you do a 30-second debate,
How
you
can
will
I?
lose. He said
Julian,
the word
you-
fight.
I
You're
asked
changing
you.
it for
I
fight.
asked you whether.
Are you
I
not a
asked
child?
you
You're not a
whether
child.
commanded.
You're probably younger than me, right? You're not a child. So I
Everyone's younger
expect.
than
So
you.
I
I'm not a
expect.
child. You're right.
Exactly. So I expect to behave like an adult, which you are, and let me make my point and be patient. Bite the bullet and be patient.
It's no good
being the same as
Be
like
patient. Be
Apples.
patient.
You don't
No.
You don't
If you don't have
You're
patience,
not asking
perhaps
me
you know what?
You're just preaching.
If you
You're
keep
not
on,
asking
if
me
you
to
keep
preach.
on
You're
interrupting,
two-minute
I'm
debate.
not going to waste my
Then
time.
they would,
If
you're
you're
wasting
not going
everyone's
to
time.
let me
You're wasting oxygen
make my
because
point
you're not
and
actually having a
educate you
conversation
in what you need to
with
know about the
someone that you
background,
started
then
off
I'm
with,
wasting my
saying
time.
let's speak to each other with respect.
Do you want to learn?
Instead of speaking with respect,
Or do you want to waste my time?
You're getting irritated. You're getting.
Do you want to waste
agitated.
your time?
Look how angry you are. You know why you're
I'm
angry?
not angry. You're angry.
You know why you're angry?
I am not angry.
I'll tell you why you're angry.
So,
because you don't want to have a
thank you for
2-minute
not being
debate.
patient. So let me continue
You're
now.
trying to obfuscate.
So God then
You're
says,
trying to read
trouble
scripture.
freely.
Yeah, let me
Yep.
show you
Try
how
to
easy it
escape
is.
from talking
Anyone
about
can read
929.
So now again,
This
the
is a
moment I
fascinating
start
scripture.
to talk about it again,
you all
you
talk
interject.
about
I will make a new
929.
covenant
Okay,
with the house of
thank you,
Israel.
Julian.
Yeah.
So now I'll speak to the audience who are
I
learning
will
from this
decree the
experience.
decree the Lord has given me. You are my son. He had to run. He had to run because you want to do a 2-minute debate. Do a 2-minute debate and he would have won. You know he would have won. We all know he would have won.
Bullshit!
Bull of Bashan, working for Satan. The bulls 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 of Bashan, working for Satan. The bull of Bashan, working for Satan. The bull of Bashan, working for Satan. Look at these men of valor. Look at these men of valor. The little ladies. Look how mighty they are. The warriors of Israel. The bulls of Bashan, working for Satan. Look at the mighty warriors.
Patriots are terrorists! Patriots are terrorists! 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 Oh! No violence! Violence! Violence from VCCCI! Shame on you! You stink, mate! You stink! Owen! Terrorists! 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 Terrorists!
Terrorist! 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 Terrorist!
Pull up Bashan! Who's the Bashan? You know what Bashan is? You know where Bashan is? It's where your father lives. Who's the Bashan?
La ilaha illallah!
Calm down, brother.
La ilaha
Don't let them
illallah!
win.
La
Even if
ilaha
they hit you now, let them hit you. Don't worry. Let them win. Just relax. They're going to try and roll you. Don't let them roll you, brother. Have peace, have peace. Watson. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan.
Terrorist! 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 Terrorist!
Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. 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 In your mosque. The mighty men of valor. Look at the men of courage. Pulling a little lady. Pulling a little lady. Oh, mighty warriors. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. He is Lord. He is Lord. He is risen from the dead. And he is Lord. Every knee shall bow. Every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Hallelujah.
He is
Hallelujah.
Lord.
For the Lord Jesus
He
Christ
is Lord. He is risen from the dead. And he is Lord. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. He's Lord. Jesus is Lord. Only way you're going to get to heaven. Jesus loves you. He loves you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Who is your father? Who's your father? Satan! 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 Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Look at these men of courage, everyone. Hey, go big wall. Go to community. You too. Look at the bully. He has the face of Islam. He has the face of the academics and the scholars. She's already been stabbed. She's already been knocked to the ground. Now, you're going to come over here and start bullying her. In mass. You won't even show your faces, you cowards. You have show your faces, you cowards. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. We all love you.
Shame on you!
Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Who's a Bashan? Working for Satan. Oh guys, behave, please. Behave, please. Behave. Jesus, Lord, holes in the narrative. Wherever you look, you'll find holes in the narrative. Holes in the narrative. Holes in the narrative. Wherever you look, you'll find holes in the narrative. All day long. Look at the bulls of Bashan. Thank you, officer. Thank you, police. Yes, thank you, police. Thank you, police. Justice is done. Thank you, police. Well done. Freedom of speech. Thank you. Thank you, police. To the mouth. Good. Keep going. Everyone else is See how they treat the Muslims. This is my colleague.
He was a pussy and they will ask him nicely.
Move away from them. I believe okay, 1 minute. He's not being You're being racist, you're racist. No, you're racist. You're racist. You're racist. Next time you come back, move the mask. Yeah? You're racist. Get your hands up, man. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. This way. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I don't need the park. I don't need you to touch me. Yeah? I don't need you to touch me. Yeah?
Officer, this is a miscarriage of justice.
You're racist. That's what it is. You are racist. This is all going viral. You're racist. You're racist. Allahu Akbar!
Officer, excuse me.
Yeah, but this happens all the time, doesn't it?
It shouldn't happen. It's injustice.
Only happens with Muslims. Not really.
Only if it's Muslims.
It's like a drama. This happens every week.
You're racist. You're racist.
Everyone just comes in.
That's the whole point.
It's like a drama show. This is a drama show.
It's public space. Don't touch me.
It's that one.
Racist. That's all this is the racist.
I've got the collar number and I'm going to give a statement. Officer, this is wrong. They were not intimidating.
What's wrong is people intimidating other people.
Officer, they were not. I was there.
Intimidating other people.
I was watching. Officer, you are wrong.
We mustn't do that.
Mossman just got kicked out the second time. Second week in a row now.
Okay, I don't think that.
I tried to wash away my things, but they won't take them. So I'm just good.
I think it's like the second week in a row now.
I might not cancel anything, but like I said, do you know what I mean? Because people watch that. No, listen. Irish, but with an I, E-Y-E. Cool, I'll check that. ما يظلك حتى لاجئ والله ما يظل لاجئ Isn't he a Muslim scholar? He's a Muslim scholar.
Shame on you, terrorists! Shame on you, terrorists! Shame on you, terrorists!
Isn't Speaker's Corner lovely?
Shame on you! Isn't Speaker's Corner lovely? Ugly terrorists!
Look at this! This is freedom of speech! This is freedom of speech! This is the son of Allah! Bulls of Bashan, working for Satan! This is a child of Satan! Working on behalf working for Satan. I know. You don't know what Bashan is. Bashan is an area controlled by the Bible, the Old Testament, like Jesus was, and the New Testament.
Apostle John! I am telling you about written record! Written record! Bishop Irenaeus! In his book published! 180 AD! He was a student of Polycarp, who sat at the feet of John, the apostle. John who reclined on the chest of Jesus. Jesus the Son.
Excuse me, press.
Every knee will bow, every tongue confess. Amen. We're all going to stand in front of Jesus, and that day you will know fear. Today you don't know fear because you're bullying a little lady. Today you've got no clue of what fear is. But when you stand in front of Jesus, you will know what fear is. You will know what fear is.
It must change the mindset. And I am sorry to say, but gospel is going to come and then conquer your heart.
Amen. Preach it, Hatun.
Today, you can conquer all the days. But you know what? With the death and resurrection of Lord Jesus Christ, I am identified as someone who is close to Him. And there is no one and nothing can change that. There is nothing and no one can change us. Jesus Christ already gave Himself for me. With honor out of grace. I didn't deserve, you don't deserve, but King of Kings, Prince of Heaven, steps in and gave Himself for purifiers. Take your mask off. And I didn't deserve, and you don't deserve, already gave Himself for me. I can say to you, your boyfriend? That's you. Is
that your boyfriend on the
He's actually like a shark. You know what? When you preach the gospel, you preach the gospel, you never know whether the soul is going to listen. Keep going. Keep going. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you.
7 years ago, mate. That was 7 years ago.
Jesus loves you.
7 years ago. 7 years ago that was.
Your sins are in the past.
7 years ago.
As far as the east is from the west.
7 years ago. 7 years ago, mate.
Your sins are as far as from the east as from the west.
7 years ago.
Off you go. Off you go then. Off you go. Bye bye.
Why did you use a knife to mock people?
Bye bye. Off you go.
Why did you use a knife to mock people?
Off you go.
Why did you mock people with a knife?
Why are you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask? Why are you wearing a mask that you keep touching?
7 years ago, bro.
You're a criminal.
7 years ago, bro.
You're still a criminal.
I don't care. I don't care.
Who gets the picture?
He's trying to run in a mask. You're bad acting. Why are you wearing a mask? From what? COVID? You're out in the air. The wind.
Shut up.
Sunshine. Is that he's a bully? He's a bully. He's a big guy.
He's like, what? Face what?
Not the lockdown.
What he's doing now, he's going to
Victim number one. He's a victim of BBC.
Ladies and gents, here is the form of wit. Here is a true scholar. Here is an academic. What he's going to do is tell
Why are you touching
her
Why are you touching
a
him?
terrorist. And while he's telling her that she's a terrorist,
Why you got
he's
plaster
got a
on your
picture superimposed of hurting someone. Here is a true... Look at this! Yeah, you have it. The wisdom of the scholar. All he can do is repeat the same thing over and over. He's not being able to actually prove anything. He's not being able to substantiate anything. He's a coward in a mask. This man is a coward. Any people that want to follow Islam because of what he's doing are not looking for peace.
Pardon?
Any people that want to follow Islam from what he's doing are not going to follow true teaching.
I can't hit. You're gay? Is that an insult? You're actually laughing at that. My 13-year-old son is more grown up than you. Do you actually think to stand in a public park and say you're gay? He's clearly an
intellectual. He knows lots of big words.
This man's an intellectual.
He's got big words.
An intellectual powerhouse. No, I'm not. Why'd you ask? Are you looking for a boy? Are you looking for a boy? Why would you ask? Because you're looking for a boy.
Curiosity killed the cat. I don't want AIDS.
Prove it!
Prove it! You can't prove it! 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 You can't because you're full of shit! Prove it! Prove it! Prove it! You're a coward! Prove it! You're a coward!
How is she a terrorist?
Police, this man hit me on the head. Police, this man hit me on the head. It's on camera. He bullied me. He hit me on my fat head. And he hit me. And now he swallowed me. He's insulted me. He hit me, this man. Police, this man hit me. It's on camera.
Shame on you.
Hatun is a terrorist.
Intellectual.
Prove it. Prove it. There are holes in the narrative. Mohammed said to the 9-year-old.
That's libelous. That is libelous. That is libelous.
That is libelous.
You're making an accusation and you cannot prove it. That is libel. That is libel. That is libel.
Litigation. Officer, litigation.
Litigation.
Can't tell this man's a liar.
Shush. I passed, not like
You terrorist? You sure? You sure you're a terrorist? Intelligent man. You sure you're not terrorist?
Yeah, because I passed my
You've done really well in life. Come to Speaker's Corner and say shush. And shut up.
Let me give you a chewing gum. I've got some spare here.
Really successful young man. Your parents must be really proud of you.
Yes, they are.
Really, really proud of you. The successes you've achieved. Are your parents proud of you?
I'll give you the whole
In the
box.
live chat.
Just shove it all in your mouth.
This guy there.
Why their parents had them?
Something's happening over there.
We are here once again to be bought out as part of monopoly, and you not living to the rules of the capitalist, because the rules of the capitalist are you don't care about the environment.
To worship Almighty God. Every moment you open your mouth, you're showing
Hey, what if
Don't support your Muslim bro who's been thrown out the park.
Why is it over there? I think police are just talking to people, not much.
But what? Really hard to understand people in balaclava. Keep pulling it out.
I'd rather look at John.
Keep touching it. Which hand are you using, the left or the right, to pull your balaclava? Is it your left hand or your right hand?
Shut up!
I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to shut up. So if you don't like it, you know what to do, don't you? If you don't like it, were you sexually attracted to Hatun? Is that why you're surrounding her? I said sexually attracted to. No, I'm going to keep whispering in your ear. I'm going to keep whispering in your silly boys in balaclavas who are very, 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 very uneducated. I've got a problem. Well, I've got lots of problems. Would you like to hear about them?
You should see the live chat. I got like 110 people.
So what were you saying? I missed that. You said something.
So you've done that and he had stitches on before you took pictures. You've downloaded it off his YouTube.
See that door?
That's his case writing. A long time ago. Just downloaded it.
Anyone here? What? Yeah. Huh? You raising a hand, yeah? Huh? You raising a hand to me, bud, yeah?
Leave it. No, leave it. You
Don't raise your fucking hand to me, you understand? Don't raise your hand to me, bud, yeah?
Brother, leave it.
No, pull back. No.
What is the point?
The Royal Marines.
I'm gonna kill him.
Guys, Mr. Muslim just said he's gonna kill him.
Oh, really? How's he gonna do that?
Mr. Muslim just said
All of them gonna get it.
Who's the terrorist? I'm going to kill him. Who's the terrorist?
That's the man
Who's the terrorist? I'm going to kill him.
Enough. Hey, enough. Debate, ask questions. Shout.
Okay, he got punched. Show him.
Ask a question.
Who punched him?
this guy is...
What point is the guy in the picture? I don't know. No, he's the guy, the big man. MMA fight. UFC, he won UFC.
Everything is under control.
Okay, brother. WWE.
Oh, you're such a child. You really are such a child. You're a child. You're a child. You're an idiot. Yes, man, I used to go. You were one you threw out 2 weeks ago.
He made a
And you're a silly little boy with a carver on. Taking your IRL.
Just to show. What the fuck?
Hope nobody is stepping on your baby.
Can someone please tell me about the whole the narrative?
Yes.
And then can someone express to the police that gentleman is threatening the gentleman here?
Hold it,
He's gonna kill him. Can someone step in? Because Mr. Policeman is not doing anything about it.
You are Satan!
I am not
Satan! You are Satan!
Wait. In the comments, someone said well done, Gavin, for sorting them out. Do you think the police is my comment? I just realised, like, who's Gavin? Well, I have 132.
Any Muslim can explain it to me about the
Well
whole
done, Gavin, for
narrative.
sorting him out.
Any Muslim, can you be kind enough and then tell me why there are different Arabic Qurans? And can you be kind enough and tell me which Quran is in the eternal tablets?
He is your friend. Everybody is your friend. You are Satan. Why you are? You are Satan.
I am grateful that Muslims look at me.
Hatton, would you mind doing a quick interview? I'm Louis from Another Alternative.
I
Sorry?
am asking questions to Muslims. If you are not Muslims, no.
I'm Christian. I'm just I'm a YouTuber.
I am figuring out
Okay.
which Quran is in the eternal tablet.
Do you mind doing a quick interview after, maybe?
Satan is devil.
Come and debate, man.
Would you mind doing another alternative interview? My name's Louis.
Okay, son of God debating Satan. Sounds good. Go.
Have you ever been?
Allahu al-Asghar, even Allah is Mars. Look at the Quran. There's the picture of Mars in it. Why? Because Muslims are forcing Muhammad into the Bible. It's the same argument. You can simply say, according to the Bible, Allah is a Mars.
But he died in that toilet. And God wiped my feet. Ahmadiyya died in the toilet. God wiped my feet. God wiped my right feet. I am Messiah. Wipe feet. Ahmadiyya also said I am Messiah. But he died in the toilet. Wipe my feet. I am Messiah. You are Ali Baba. You are Gangaram. 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 You are Gangaram.
Our God is glorious. Our God is why don't we have no obligation? Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, stepped into this world and gave himself on the cross for us. Son of God is not for us because what Lord Jesus Christ did, now
Going to do a quick walk around, see if there are any other speakers. Also, I'll try to look for Danny Chine as well. I think he was here earlier today, but I think he left. I'm not too sure. Got Heiko Ku over there. I'm not sure I can film his full speech, but I'll see.
Egyptian is Haman. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
part of the time replying to emails from the country. That's how they spent their last 2 years. The guy's in charge. The guy's pushing it. Now the Austrians, having found that the vaccination increases the likelihood
Apologies there, can't really film Heiko because of YouTube censorship reasons. Thanks very much for understanding though.
And we all
Why are you attacking me?
You are so focused on me.
Suck your mouth! Suck your dirty and Muhammad. That's the gift. That proves that Jesus is God. By them insulting you, you prove that Jesus is God. You're not touching me. I'm standing here. Don't touch me. That proves by them attacking you that Jesus is God. You're provoking us. No one's provoking you. They're laughing you. They're trying to teach you that Jesus is God. It's the Speaker's Corner. It's the one place in the world. Freedom of speech. If you don't like it, go away. If you don't like it, go away. This is the place where you're allowed to, by law, debate and have a conversation. If you want a conversation, come and have a conversation. Don't follow Satanic. Stop attacking me. Come together. You're not. Don't follow Satanic book of Allah. Satanic book of Allah, don't follow that. It has a hole in that. You've lost. There's no. Are there any Muslims? Any Muslims gonna?
Just make sure
No.
that you call that gentleman with it. It's not Muslim, so don't you allow that they become alongside of one another.
Have the Moss men?
Probably they're right
Wait,
now.
are they back in?
Getting up.
They've appeared to make their way back into speakers.
Salvation of the Quran. I am sure that's what they are discussing right now.
The only defense is to attack you. There is no defense. I wish someone would bring a defense.
Shaitan has become a Muslim. Allah bless you. You are Satan. Shaitan has become a Muslim. Repent. Repent. God save them! Whatever! I will prepare you borough for Jesus. Me and Jesus are friends. I will prepare new borough for Jesus. Me and Jesus are
like
friends.
Qadiani. Like Qadiani.
Qadiani are liars.
Oh, Qadiani are liars. Yes. So are Muslim are liars.
So are Christians are liars. So are Jews are liars.
Well, I'm using different phone to you.
Yeah, we use Streamlabs though.
Yeah, Streamlabs. It's probably like different because it's iOS, that's why.
Ah, you got iPhone.
Yeah,
that's why it is.
Yours is different.
Yeah, definitely.
What's yours like? Is it?
Yeah, I can't see fuck all through it.
Yeah. With yours? Mine's more clear.
Yeah, yours is alright.
But like,
does it turn off the stream when you turn it off though?
What do you mean, like?
If you click on turn off the stream, does it actually turn off the stream?
Yeah, it does. Why does it not do it with yours? Do you have to like reload it?
Yeah, it's shit, mate.
You're not streaming today?
What?
You're not streaming? Fair enough. Yeah.
Why don't you go and... Why don't you go...
We were at the protest yesterday.
You know, it's all the things. Yeah, was you not?
Yeah.
Was you here? Yeah, no, I didn't see you.
It's quite big.
It was quite big. I reckon there was like 2K there.
Yeah.
Alibaba, your fault. Huh? Alibaba, your fault.
You are like a Qadiani. You are like a Qadiani.
I don't have their money. They loaded. They
You are like a Qadiani.
Then you come here and they rob social security. They rob social security.
All Muslim dead. All
Of course, all Indian rob.
All Muslim dead.
All Indian rob social security. How do Hindu, how do Christians, everybody rob social security.
Look at this man, the Dhimmi of the Arabs. Dhimmi of the Arabs who worship Muhammad, the slave trader. How many slaves did Muhammad have? How many black slaves? Tell me, how many black slaves did Muhammad have? Now, the black slaves disappeared in Basra. Where are they? Where are the disappeared Africans in the city of Basra? Tell me, where are they? Can you answer? Answer the question. The disappeared slaves, million African slaves in Basra alone in the 9th century. Where are they?
You don't care about your own family. Why would you care about people from East Al-Had? You don't even care about...
I am talking about Africa.
You don't care about your ancestors. You're from West...
How would you be here?
You're from West Africa.
You're a dog. You're a dog.
No, bro. He didn't have... Don't say dogs.
Bow to Muhammad. The slave
I will tell you this one. Allah revealed to me. Mahdi will have line on his forehead. Look, line on my forehead, and his forehead will be slightly concave. Concave means pushed in. This is the sign of Mahdi. When did you get Mahdi? I'm not Mahdi. I'm ready to prepare new world for Prophet Jesus. They didn't know Mahdi. Jews and Christians, they made up Messiah, Antichrist, Gog and Magog, and Muslim copy.
If a group of Christians got together, he won't say, we talk over. He wants, you
must be quiet. I can show you, must be quiet.
Because they don't talk.
You said, Second Timothy 2. Well, can a woman speak in a church? That's right.
First of all, churches were established. So there were 7 churches. They were buildings where people travel, right? Within those buildings, Timothy, Paul is talking to the people at that time who are literally in buildings. So when women gathered, they would speak in the church. So I'm talking about gathering, I'm talking about the reason why he's shaking is because he's speaking to the Muslims, right?
No, when they're in that, so me, I'm the conversation. I'll ask him questions. But you don't accept his answer. He doesn't want to accept the answer.
Secretary says it's related to underlying health issues who are literally gathered in church buildings. Women were in their custody. So that's this guy's a tired guy. That women. So I have nothing to do with me and you've been what was God doing when he was a baby?
Can I explain to you? You know, this is the difference between Christianity and racism. I'm going to explain. With us, it's simple. In the Quran, he says black. He's black. He says he's white. He's white. It's not with the meanings. Every time when they tell you something, he didn't say that. He says something else. You go so mystical.
So when the Quran says that black people go to hell and I don't care, and white people go to hell and I don't care, does that mean that black people go to hell?
It doesn't. Listen, okay, let me tell you to rephrase. Okay, you are a true believer. You are a true believer in God. You believe. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you his words now. Say you believe. Say your faith is like a seed of mustard. Like a seed of mustard. Yeah, mustard seed. Yeah, you can say to the mountain move.
I think you got the terrible one.
Listen, you can say to the mountain move, and the mountain is gonna move. So where is your faith now? You can say to something to move. This is your faith. You don't have to seed of mustard. And it's the word of Jesus. It's the word of Jesus.
I'm gonna stop you. Jesus speaking in parables.
For this I'm telling you. You see the difference. This is simple. You don't have to ignore it. It's not parable. When you
Jesus says to his disciples, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you'll be able to move this mountain. Jesus was speaking in parables. He wasn't speaking literally.
So how about
he was saying that his
like
disciples should increase faith.
Brother, you see, this is a complicated.
See how you're disrupting your own words. Jesus is disrupting your own. You're lying to yourself.
No, I'm not lying. This is.
I like how you take Jesus literally there, but you don't take the Quran literally. For example, Surah 929 says, "Fight the unbelievers." Right? Where are you people fighting the unbelievers, bro? No. Wait. What did he say? Wait. What did he say? Oh, so it's how you interpret it. It's how he's interpreting it. No, it's not we interpret it, but how they interpret it is fine. So what you're saying is this, right? Us Muslims can interpret our Quran how we want it, but when a Christian comes and interprets the Bible, it's a problem. Yes, it is. It's the double standard of your religion, and this is why it doesn't work. For any of you, the reason why it doesn't work is this, right? This guy came to me and said that Jesus was literal when he said that anybody has a faith of mustard seed would be able to move mountains.
That's not literal.
I said it was parable.
That's in English. That's not parable.
I said it was parable.
What did he say?
Then I asked you that Surah 929 says to fight the unbelievers. You said that was talking about something completely different. You're walking in front of me, bro. So here's the thing. You either show and prove your religion. Either you kill and murder and fight the unbelievers, or you do not. But do not come to me and claim that what I said is a parable when your same book is literally fighting you. You're looking forward for it. See what Muslims do when we expose their religion. For Jesus Christ is Lord.
You're lying, man. Relax yourself.
Jesus Christ is the God of Israel. And they've not been able to defend their religion. Notice, I spoke about Surah 929. And notice how the Muslims ran for their lives.
I'm here. Over here, you crackhead! Over here! What the fuck are you talking about? Who runs?
Let me ask you this.
Look at that! Why are you shaking? Africans left brother Mohammed.
Going to do one more walk around the corner. Hope you enjoyed today's stream, the entertainment of every Sunday as well. Welcome to the channel if you're new as well. Remember to subscribe and hit that big red button, click the bell icon so you don't miss future live streams or videos like these.
You are not to bow down to any statue,
Question. Does the virus actually exist?
Hear this! Now hear this!
After Bulgaria occupied Greece.
As your personal Savior and the Lord, believing in your heart
not to get caught up.
You are nothing by yourself. You are nothing by yourself.
All right, threatening people. You told him you were threatening him. I'm not going to shut up. I'm shouting, yes. It's Speaker's Corner. If you don't like it, you can leave. I want to shout. I can shout if I want to shout.
Tell them, brother. Tell them.
Go for a walk. Simple as that.
It's not as Belgium. It's not as Belgium. Look at your behaviour.
That's what you have.
Look at your behaviour. Mohammed behaved worse.
Yeah. You
Look
can
at
hear
this
all
guy's
right.
behaviour.
You can hear all right. Yeah, we can hear all
And
right.
if you do not believe in Jesus Christ, you will die in your sin.
Amen.
If you do not believe in Jesus Christ, you will die in your sin. There is no salvation outside Jesus Christ.
I don't care.
There is no salvation outside Jesus Christ.
Shut up! Is it the Father or the Son?
There is no salvation outside of Jesus Christ.
Is it the Father or the Son?
Jesus is the way.
Jesus is the Lord.
No one comes to the Father but by me.
Amen.
Wasteman.
Islam will take you to hell.
Wasteman.
But Jesus will take you to heaven. Jesus is more than a prophet.
Jesus
Much
is
more than a
God.
prophet.
Jesus is God.
So what? So what? Yeah.
Gonna be like me, don't worry.
Really?
Yeah.
I will never follow your prophet. I never follow.
This guy is a mercenary. Those mercenaries.
How can I follow a man that sold black people? No! How can I follow a man that sold black people? That's not right. I don't need to follow a man that had black slaves.
He sold black slaves.
How
And
can
you
I follow
believe
a
in
man?
his
They are
terror.
not Christians. They are liars.
Don't worry about it.
You actually believe in terrorists. You sold black slaves.
I never
You're
follow
gonna
a
have my
man.
shot. You're gonna have the shahada with me.
I
Don't worry
never
about it.
follow a man
Believe me.
who married a 6-year-old girl. I never follow a man who had sex with a 9-year-old girl. I'll never follow that. I'll never follow that man.
You're drunk, you're pissed, mate.
That's what
Shut up.
Bukhari. Have you read Bukhari? Have you read Bukhari? Have you read Bukhari?
Let's be honest, they haven't even read. Let's be honest, they haven't even read.
You don't know
If they read anything, they will be Muslim.
The book of Islam is Al Quran. No Bukhari. The book of Muslims is Al Quran.
Read the book of Highland Diet.
And this man
and
is a
Christians
liar.
are the worst of
He is
preachers.
not Christian.
1986. And you all believe in it?
They are not
Because your
Christian.
religion is from Satan.
They are mercenaries.
What the book? Allah was Satan. And you worship
These
Satan.
are mercenaries.
That's why he said that
Working for the Zionists against Jesus and the people of Palestine. Jesus is Palestinian. And the people of Jesus are the most oppressed people on earth.
Tell him.
Those guys are mercenaries.
Jesus, the
I might just talk a bit. As soon as it kicks
And they sold their souls to Shaitan.
It just
These are the laughing gods. Look at him. He's a mercenary. Yeah. He works for this guy here. If he goes to Tel Aviv, they want to know him in. Why? Because he's a blind with Jesus, the Father or the Son, or Jesus of Abraham and a Nazareth in Palestine.
You're doing what Jesus said you would. Jesus said
to Palestine.
Jesus said
إلى المرافق.
Going to end the live stream now. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you all enjoyed. Thanks to all the mods keeping the chat clean. Also, thanks to those who've donated today as well. Really much appreciated. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers now, so welcome to the channel if you're new. Remember to subscribe and hit that big red button. Click the bell icon so you don't miss future live streams or videos like these. Thanks very much, everyone. See you on the next one. Take care.